Thank you for letting me be here. All I can say is wow as to what you are doing to make my job a whole lot easier and make this community a better place. Andrea, the slide up there in Durham of the office. Last week, the World Chamber of Commerce Congress met in India and voted that the best entrepreneurial idea in the world in the chamber business. And they were there to receive that award. So I want to know what it was. I didn't know what it was. Thank you for showing it to me, and congratulations to them. We can do the same thing if we put our mind to it. This is a big puzzle. And because of what y'all have started doing, it has now come full circle that this whole county is now involved in community transformation. And it really started about 3 years ago. Dr. Henshaw and I flew down to St. Petersburg and met with the St. Petersburg College folks at the collaborative labs who do brainstorming, strategic planning, and looked at their creative technology they use and how they facilitate communities in developing strategic plans. Dr. Henshaw flew them up with their equipment up to CVCC, and some of you were there. We had our first brainstorming session about a strategic plan for this county. And that's what got things started at CVCC's initiative and extends. From there, later on, we had a joint chamber EDC board meeting and further looked at strategic planning ideas and problem areas that we were faced with. But again, here, we're 3 years ago. So we got another directive about 2 years ago from County Manager Tom Lundy, who said, Danny, it's time for business to step up and do some type of a plan and tell us what we need to be doing. Just like you did with your small business committee and other things that you're trying to do. So that was the directive that he's asking the business community to go back. You know, we had 2004 a foresight plan. We've not had a plan since. So we took that directive and started the business community on an initiative to bring us to today. And that's where we have finished a one-year plan that we have completed in January. Ted Abernathy worked with us for all of last year with a great 30-member competitive plan team, funding from you and other sources. This is not the Chamber's economic competitiveness plan. If it would, it'd fail. It's not City of Hickory's economic plan, it'd fail too. This is Catawba County's plan. And what is going to happen, and it's already happening from what you can see and what I've given you, is the number of people that said, I'm excited, I want to help, put me in an area where you need me. And we got 223 people involved in these 6 areas that we've come up with in the last year. So that is exciting. But I want you to understand the ownership of this plan needs to be everybody sitting in this room, in this entire county. To get out of where we have been is going to take an ownership. We're going to have to be the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to all have to invest our time and energy and dollars in turning this community around. I'm not going to be on any more lists of how we rank and wherever we rank. I don't want to hear any more about, well, nobody's doing anything, as a bumper sticker. If you complain about farmers, don't talk with your mouth full. Well, if you want to complain about Hickory not doing anything or the county not doing anything, well, people are down on what they're not up on. And they're just not up on what y'all are doing and what we're doing. And the pity party for Catawba County is over. I here declare. Because there's so much activity going on that we better be proud of it and ought to be proud of it. And I encourage you to continue this effort, and I applaud you. What you've got in front of you are the 6 priority areas that we finished up with Ted. And in the last 2 months, we have taken these 6 areas and put team leaders together and have already been meeting and are meeting tomorrow for the first time in 2 months to hear back reports from these team leaders about what's been going on and initial brainstorming ideas about what we want to do in these areas. I can't go into a lot of detail, but you just need to understand in no particular order these 6 areas: building quality shell buildings and parts And not having product is very serious. And that is probably our biggest issue and biggest problem that we've got. The EDC and Scott is working in that group and working with the ability to try to get us financing for spec buildings, whether it's public, private, whatever it's going to be. We've got to have product to sell. So we've got to make that a priority. And I know that you feel the same way. You have talked enough about that yourselves. This incubation of small business, I want to take this incubation word out, just an accelerator center, or how we're going to accelerate new, young, small business leaders or entrepreneurs. Small business development and encouraging entrepreneurship is an issue that had a lot of great ideas. It involved a lot of opportunities to meet with your staff, particularly in licensing, permitting, and inspections, to educate them. Okay, you come in, you get your business permit, now what do? They just walk out the door, unless they ask to speak to Brian or other help. But we have got to educate every planning department and inspections in the county and whatever. Once you are dealing with these new startups or any kind, where else do you go to get help? To help your business grow and get started. So we've got to have a partnership there, and we would be glad to try to work with each of those groups. We've got to update all the business resources that we've got that can help business. It's not been updated in a while, and there's so many people doing this between the Chamber and SBTDC and the Small Business Center. There's so many. We've got to get ourselves organized and compile everything that's going on so we can hand this information to your staff and to those companies coming in. But the one thing that we don't know about is this Kaufman Foundation grant that CBCC has been designated as a site, one of 3 in the country. And the entrepreneurial landscape of this community will change forever because of this. This is a lot of dollars coming in here. Everyone in North Carolina will have the ability to come here and apply for dollars for startups, which when they come here and apply for startups at $25,000 and $100,000, there's opportunities to try to keep you here. So we're trying to get to the governor, and we're trying to explain to him this is a statewide project, three community colleges in the country to get this. So entrepreneurial and small business development will forever be changed because of the opportunities that people across the state will have to come here and talk about getting an initial $25,000 startup money and a matching $100,000 in the second round. And more to follow because we're still getting oriented to what the Kaufman Foundation regulations are, and they'll be visiting very soon. And that is Bill Parrish leading that team, and myself, and a Small Business Center. Not Jeff, but Gary Muller, I'm sorry, who's head of entrepreneurship at CBCC. Reinventing Spaces is Stephen Schubert. They have met. I'll hear for the first time tomorrow what they've come up with. Scott said today in an email, his presentation will probably be the best one there is. So what they have been coming up with and ideas about how we take these old buildings, we either tear them down, we incentivize people to come in, whatever they decided, I can't wait to hear about, but that is a tremendous priority that we need to address. Workforce Connectivity and Development is chaired by Dr. Powell and Dr. Henshaw, and I am helping them, and they met for the first time last week, and I could barely get 40 people in the living room of the chamber to meet. If you make the rounds with business, as I do, and as EDC, and as I did this morning with one of the biggest companies in this community, they can't grow without skilled employees. We've got high unemployment, but we have a skilled labor shortage that is at critical mass. We also are in the middle of America's largest demographic shift of human capital in America's history. And that means that industry and business are dealing with the boomers that are retiring, being replaced by the Xers, but all of a sudden the Ys that number 80 million will outnumber the boomers by 2015. And the majority of our workforce will be Y generations and the older X's. And how do you retain and recruit that Y generation to stay in my company? At 35 and under, they're changing jobs every 2 years or 22 months. How do you keep a workforce together when young people are moving that quickly within the job market? So every business in America is facing this, and we got to face it. We just finished filming our first Hot Jobs video. The Chamber and CBCC put money and hired the Jackson Group and Paragon Design, and we decided to ask HR managers, what are the hardest jobs to fill? And of course, furniture came to the very top, and they said sewers, cutters, and upholsterers. So we just finished a hot job video on those 3 jobs. And that will be in the school systems, that will be out in social media, and that will be marketed to anyone that is looking for a job with salary ranges, hourly rates, and salaries. We've got 2 or 3 more hot job videos in other areas that are hard to fill than a manufacturing video about Catawba County, the diversity of manufacturing that we've got here. And I think you would be amazed if you saw it in a 5-minute video about what we've got to offer. Then we've got to figure out, how do you teach a teacher and a guidance counselor to understand manufacturing is not dead. This community is alive and well and needs your help, because everybody doesn't need a 4-year education. You get a secondary education, and we're going to have videos getting them, our young people, to understand what happens after high school, and then what degrees are needed and what other skill levels you're going to need to get jobs. So this is going to be quite a long process, but one we need very desperately. Workforce is huge. Inspiring communities is your inspiring spaces. You just can't say it any better what you've seen. In 40 years, I have never been in a chamber and in a community that has done something like this. I applaud you. I'm going through the exhibits. You have given us a vision that we see. I'm just a visual person. You tell me you want to build a walkway or a bike path, or you want to put a monument up, you want to put fountains up. I can't get it till I see it. And you let me see everything that you're thinking about doing. And thank you for doing that. And then this community can now see it and be inspired by it and get behind you and do it. Lastly, leading and communicating. That was so complex, we had to split it up into 2 groups. And if Ted said 2 things that were critical, it dealt with these 2 issues, and that we had better pay attention to. And that is leadership. Our former leadership of these incredible people that have branded us to the world over these years, they are not in these leadership positions anymore. And there has not been a groundswell of other CEO-type leadership coming to the forefront and replacing them. And we need to find them, and we need to start training emerging leaders. We need to get special institute and leadership programs for our young professionals, and we need to recreate this leadership base of business. And he said, that's serious. He did not see it. So we have got to make sure, and we have got a series of leadership programs, and that's what I was talking to the CEO about this morning. He said, Danny, I want my superstars in my company in leadership programs, teaching them about not only personal leadership development, but about this community. And that will be done. And he said, when I moved here, I needed a leadership program. Somebody need to teach me about this community since I've been here. And we also can't forget the spouses, because they need to be oriented. And he's got people that are moving in here that are trying to make decisions about whether they want to live here or not after they come out of their job offers. We don't want them staying in a motel or a hotel just sitting there. We got to have a team of people that can go out and show them the community, that know what they're talking about, that can reacquaint them with the community they may want to live in, because we've lost some people to that have decided not to stay here. It's unacceptable. We've got to find another leadership team for that. The communication piece is last. And Nick, you've heard him. We're the worst storytellers in any community that he's ever seen. And that's good storytellers about our community. He couldn't believe it. He said, you don't realize the great things that are going on here that these polls don't take into account. But between the Simulated Hospital and Manufacturing Solutions Center and this Inspiring Spaces, you just keep naming, and the Kaufman Foundation, you keep naming the things that this community ought to be proud of. This community itself is not talking about it. Because people are down on what you're not up on. Again, they've got to understand, we got to educate and inspire the community with things like you're doing, but tell this community about how proud they ought to be and what's been accomplished and where we're going, and we've got to tell good stories. And that's external and internal branding that he has outlined of educating ourselves and also the world about where this place is. So I just end with appreciation for your involvement with this and making your time with it. We've got a small leadership team behind the scenes that's kind of been pushing this thing along. We've got a big job to do next, is after tomorrow. There's got to be a new leadership team formed, and the implementation process formally starts tomorrow. And I can't tell you how that's going to look yet. We've got to meet again to determine how that's going to look. But this county is destined for wonderful things, thanks to a lot of the things that you all are doing. I appreciate all that.
Thank you, Dan. So just then to kind of